Welcome to this Dead Diaries Fact or Fiction episode. Today I've come to a place called Kilmerston, which is quite near where I live. Kilmerston holds a local legend, and that legend is something that I'm sure you've heard of before, and that's the legend of Jack and Jill. I'm sure you're all familiar with the nursery rhyme. Okay, so according to local legends and things I found so far, Jack and Jill were either one of three things. Either a married couple who were cheating on their partners, who would leave the village to enjoy some alone time at the top of the hill. But they've also been recorded as being children. The rhyme has been recounted and altered over many years and is still popular among children the world over. There's a few known versions of the popular rhyme. The one I grew up knowing was this one. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. The other version, which I discovered recently, goes, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. We don't know what they did up there, but they came down with a daughter. Jack apparently got into trouble when he was hit on the head by a dislodged boulder, which caused damage to his crown, being his head. Later research proves that information Jill died whilst giving birth to a son. He was raised by the villagers and then became known as Jill's son. So, we're going to have a little look around this graveyard because apparently, according to a few people on the Facebook group, Jack and Jill are actually buried here somewhere. So I'm going to have a little look around. Sadly, some of the headstones have become dislodged over time and have fallen down, so there's not actually any way of telling what these are. I mean, there are inscriptions on some, but it's very hard to make out. Now, what I would have thought is if Jack and Jill were in fact here, that their graves would be so old that would probably not be visible anymore. There's a lot to look around, so I'm just going to sort of mission about a bit and see what I can see. There are a lot of candy memorials here. Obviously it's no relation to the Jack and Jill story, but just noting that there's a lot sort of people of the same surname. And here we have a Jillson right here. Can you actually see it there? Ernest Jillson. So is this part of the legend of Jack and Jill? Jill apparently died whilst giving birth to her son. Her son was then raised by the villagers, where he became known as Jill's son. Jillson was later adopted as a surname and is still a family name in this area to this day. Craddock. I've seen nothing so far that relates Jack and Jill to any of the headstones here at the moment, but I've got a lot more to check out yet because this place is quite big. But if you have any comments on Jack and Jill and whether you think it's sort of fact or fiction, I'd really like to know your sort of thoughts. Great to get some input. Maybe it was just a local legend and there's nothing to it. No, Thomas Ames. Lots of Ames. Just over there is actually Ames Lane, and Ames Lane is at the bottom of Jack and Jill Hill, which is just behind these trees, just over there. We're going to continue the search, see what we can find. Welcome to day 2 of the mystery of looking for Jack and Jill. I've come to Kilmerston Primary School here because I've been told there's a large memorial to both Jack and Jill, although I'm not actually sure I can access the school at the moment. Doesn't seem to be anybody around and I can't see anything sort of relating to Jack and Jill from where I'm standing. I'm not really sure where to look. I don't know, there's supposed to be a well somewhere, but I don't know where the well is. Whether this is actually the right school or not is a question in of itself. Sorry about that, hit the phone on the railings. It could be here, I'm not really sure. Have a little scoot around this side and see if there's anything over there. I'm going to continue looking around to this side and see what's here. But again, there doesn't seem to be much relating to the legend or the story. The story of Jack and Jill also has a French connection, where the French claim to be that Jack and Jill are that of King Louis XVI, Jack, who was beheaded, who lost his crown, followed by his Queen Mary Antoinette, Jill, who came tumbling after. Now this dates from 1793, so this is a little bit after the time where the poem and the rhyme first became popular, which was in 1697. So I'm not really kind of sure what that is, but the French argument says it is well, pretty much just says it does come from France, and that's pretty much it. So at the corner of Kilmersdon Hill is a thatched cottage. On the roof of that cottage is a small little homage to Jack and Jill just there. It's quite interesting. Not really sure where else to go right now, and the trailer's sort of getting a little bit colder. Sort of finding less proof that these guys actually did exist, but I will keep looking nonetheless. Maybe Jack and Jill are just a legend, just a story that was made up to sort of entertain the children. That's how it appears at the moment. Around me here is just sort of fields and stuff, school fields, and more greenlands over at the back over there. It's not really sort of anything up in this area that's Jack and Jill related, from what I can tell. As you can see on the entrance to the school here, there's a big plaque in celebration of Jack and Jill. Can't access anywhere else at the moment because all the gates are locked because it is school holidays, and I don't think there's anybody here to talk to. It's going to remain a little bit of a mystery for a bit longer by the looks of things. There's a sign there, cycling prohibited, but down there I can actually see a well. So let's see if we can head down there. I'm going to have to push my bike. I'll be right back with you. Brilliant, so we have found the well. Whether this is actually the well that Jack and Jill used, I don't know. I mean, it's filled in. I'm not sure if it's a fake well. There's all sorts of signs and plaques there around the school on the edge, depicting the legend of Jack and Jill and telling the story. Go into this side and see if we can see a bit more. It depicts the nursery rhyme, which is interesting. I can't really sort of see what the wording says. I can from here, but it's very interesting, but at the moment it's just a story and it's just folklore. There's no actual proof whether these people existed. Can't find anything to say they were real. Can't find any grave sites related to them. Can't find any headstones. Can't really find too much information at all. It's a cool building. Very cool. Scared the life out of me. So I'm back in the cemetery on day 2. Still looking around for Jack and Jill's grave, but as yet not found anything. Nothing to support either Jack or Jill. Trying to read every headstone, but there's a lot in here. And like I said earlier, some of this stuff is quite difficult to read because weather's got to it, and you know, things have fallen down and fallen off. Mary Morgan Napper. Nope. It's a very beautiful graveyard though. It's very peaceful, very quiet. So I thought I'd check out the outside of the church while I'm here, just to see if there are any plaques or any sort of any indication as to where the graves may be. I'm not seeing anything at the front at the moment. There are people inside it, so I don't want to disturb them. There's a little sign I just noticed over there, but I don't think that's going to be anything, but get a bit closer, and go and check it out. No, that just says something about a test point. There's nothing on the rear of the church either depicting Jack or Jill. Nothing in relation to them at all. Can't see any signage, any markings, any memorials, any celebration, any direction. Nothing this side. There's also nothing this side with any relation to them. Again, no signs or anything. No direction. No plaques or memorials. Just would have thought, you know, if Jack and Jill were such a big thing, that would at least be something in the form of a dedication or a plaque or something at least, but nothing here either. Cool little door. Roof alarm. You'd be stupid enough to climb on top of this thing. William Benjamin. No. There's three sort of tombs here, all in a row. Check those out and see what we can see. And this should be around about the 1600s. So this one's 1690. Memory of Joanne? Is that what that says on there? Not really sure. Don't know what these are here. These look very old. John Moore. No, again, that's not anything. Well, that's obviously something, but it's not Jack and Jill. Some sort of inscriptions on those, but I can't make out what it says again. Shouldn't be walking through these graves. Now these look really old, but again, I don't think they're Jack or Jill related. I think the search is coming to a close because I can't find anything. Been an interesting journey trying to track down their grave sites, but as yet, like I said earlier, I've got no evidence, no sort of anything to support the fact that they did exist. Although people say that they did exist and that they are here. I've seen nothing so far, so it's just a bit of a shame really. There's a grave under here which we should go and check out, possibly under a tree. It's fallen over.